Shabbat Shalom, everyone, and good Yantif. Today is the 7th of Pesach, and tradition has it that this is the day that the Israelites crossed the sea. That's why our liturgy or our reading from the Torah is from Parshat Beshalach, the Song of the Sea. That's why we stand and we re-experience it today. And I want to propose that the real miracle of the splitting of the sea is that we could all get on the same page and go through that trial together. There's something very profound about the reality that the Israelites faced in that moment. They had an external enemy. They were literally walled in. They were emotionally walled in. And yet they found a path forward. They found a way to transform a rock and a hard place into water that could split, that could make a path for them. And we did that together. That is our story. That instead of dividing, instead of infighting, we found a way through together. And I think this is especially profound because we live in times where it's very hard to stick together. As much as the Jews in this moment feel put upon by external forces, we have that many internal answers to what's right and wrong to do right now. And it's very easy to turn against one another. It's very easy to be angry at the solutions that other people among us put forth that we feel are wrong or frightening. Our state is to feel totally overwhelmed by all of the external forces that are up against us, and it's very hard to internally find a way forward together. In the liturgy that we read during every festival, not just on Pesach, we have a special Musaf Amidah, and we'll soon, in 10 minutes, depending on how fast I speak, we will soon say that Musaf Amidah together. And I want to really think about it with you this morning. The Musaf Amidah always strikes me as a pretty profound faith statement. And I think that it will be really worthwhile to study it closely, especially in the context of the 7th of Pesach, when we commemorate this collective action that we managed to do together. The Musaf Amidah, if you want to peek at it, I'm looking at page 347 in your Siddur. And the Musaf Amidah begins just like every other Amidah, but then when it gets to the particular thing that it wants to discuss at the heart of the Amidah, it says, Mitnei chata'enu galinu me'artzenu v'nitrachafnu me'al admatenu. Because of our sins, we've been exiled from our land and removed from our soil. Because of the hand that was set against your sanctuary, we're unable to fulfill our obligations in the great and holy place that you chose to carry your name. The Musaf Amidah of our festivals brings us right to the moment of one of our deepest pain points as a Jewish people, the moment of the destruction of the Second Temple. But it tells the story in a very particular way. Instead of saying, because of what the Romans did to us, it says because of what we did to each other. It's because of what we did to each other that we lost our most sacred place. It's because of what we did to each other that we experienced exile for millennia. I find this really powerful for a few reasons. Some I can start with are difficult and troubling. You might say, why would we blame ourselves? The external forces that we face surely are other people's fault and not our own. And yet, I do find it tremendously powerful and a form of finding agency and making a pathway for ourselves, that we're able to look at the events of the past and find where we could have done differently. So yes, when we face an external enemy, it is partly Rome that is at fault. But we also can find fault within ourselves. In your Siddur, in the commentary along the side of this liturgy, It says that Hasidic masters taught that when one meets evil, one should ask how what one sees in the other reflects something within oneself. This is a profound spiritual work. Most typically, when we meet evil, when we meet things we disagree with, when we meet things that offend our moral sensibilities, we push them away. We reject them. We cast them as profoundly other and certainly having no part of ourselves. But thinking psychologically and sociologically, often the things that are the most offensive to us are offensive because we have a grain of them within us. And so this Musaf Amidah invites us to reflect in that way about our past. How have we forsaken each other? How have we lost our way because we couldn't see one another any longer? We got lost in thinking that each other are the enemy instead of one another being each other's salvation. Within this Amidah is the story of the destruction of the temple. And in that moment in Jewish history, there really were three factions. One were the priests, the others were the rebels, and I would argue in between them were the rabbis. Now, the rebels wanted to fight to the death against the Romans. They thought the only way to escape what they were living under, this feeling of having no agency, was to destroy the other. And the priests were terrified of that fight. They said, we're too small to destroy the Romans. We have to compromise with them. We had the compromisers and the rebels. The allure of the rebels is that they have moral superiority. They're able to keep themselves clean of any kind of messiness of being compromisers. The compromisers are never that alluring, but they are practical. They're realists. They say, you know what? We're small, and these other nations are great. And how are we going to navigate this? We're going to find our way by buddying up to those in power. The issue in that moment in Jewish history is that these two solutions, neither of them offered salvation. And literally, the Jewish people in that moment in Jerusalem tore each other apart because they couldn't find a way forward together. The rabbis held fast to the Torah. In the midst of all of this, they said, there is no way forward that will come from the outside. Neither complete destruction of the other nor buddying up to the other is going to be our collective salvation. We have to cling to our essential truth. We have to cling to who we are as what was then emerging as these rabbinic Jews. We needed to cling to Torah, to act rightly however we could. And they were small, and only a few survived. But they are more than the rebels or the compromisers. They are our legacy. It's a complex legacy, but I hope it can bring us back to that moment at the sea. Because what happened when Bnei Israel stood at the sea is that they called out to God for help. And do you remember what God said back to them? Why are you looking at me? You have to walk forward. You have to go forth. It is human nature to look for something bigger and more powerful than ourselves to get forward. It's human nature to hope that someone else will save us when we need saving. But at the center of our Torah, at the center of our lives as Jewish people, is the acknowledgement that we are so small and vulnerable, and yet each of us is powerful beyond measure. Each of us can always take a step forward. And the real magic is when we're able to do it together, to follow and to lead, to each be doing our work, to do our best in this time and in this place, and to remember that salvation will never come from something external, that being in touch with Torah, being in touch with God, is knowing that we are each agents who have to do our best in our day and with one another. So, we're going to continue in our service.